Welcome to Tibalt's Apprentice Luck of the Draw. I don't know what to call these. The Corona Diaries? I don't know. I had mentioned in previous videos, though, that until we can get back on track and I can get some guests in here, I thought we'd have some fun taking a look at previous decks that I had talked about, because all of my decks are living decks. That is to say, they are constantly, well, as much as possible, played. And I rotate the cards in and out as opposed to just making a bunch of decks and sticking them in a drawer somewhere else and saving them, which isn't a condemnation of that, but rather more just the fact that I like to play the decks and I like to go back and revisit how certain strategies are impacted by new cards. With that in mind, a new set just came out, just became available, so we get a chance to see some of those cards. And, well, Magic has a great and storied history with lots of different cards, and there's a ton that I have no idea about, despite being around from, say, Unlimited or whatever. Everybody drops in and out a little bit, throughout the game play, throughout that timeline, I'm sure. But anyhow, I don't know all the cards, so I'm hoping you can maybe suggest other cards that should be going in the Inalla deck. Now, a few things have been made, suggestions have been made on one of the earlier videos that I did with this when I sat down with a friend and we talked about it. But going forward, there is a new deck list, which is, the link is down below here. And yeah, take a look at that. See what suggestions you might have for me. Inalla with her Eminence trigger is, to me, it sounds ridiculous maybe, but it's a great equalizer. It doesn't matter what deck or who I'm playing. I know I'm going to have a good time playing this deck because there's always lots of shenanigans to be had. And there is, well, we'll get to some of the combos in a second, but just that Eminence trigger, knowing that I get a double on whatever I put in there, any wizard that I bring in there, any enter the battlefield effect that any wizards might have, it just feels very effective. And I'll talk about a couple of those other cards later on as far as, well, what really I like cashing in with. Before we do that, though, of course, to those of you that have hung in there as subscribers, I truly appreciate it. If you like this content at all, or would like to see even better content, make suggestions down below there. I think that's my first request, is to absolutely make any comments that you feel free to help improve the show in any way. This show, this videos, this series, I don't know, this channel, whatever. Make those comments. I read and respond to them all. If you do want to throw a like down there, that's great. Subscribe if you feel like you got something out of this or you could add something to it. That would be greatly appreciated. Having said that, let's move on to Inalla, Archmage Ritualist. The one thing that, well, I won't say the one thing. I've got about half a dozen, maybe 7 cards here that break, I won't say break that Eminence trigger, but are somewhat hindered by it. That's the fact that I have several, such as Azami, Lady of Scrolls, that are legendary cards. So half a dozen, 7 actually, legendary cards. And the fact that you can duplicate that usually means that you're going to actually have to get rid of one of those. So it's not necessarily, they don't necessarily benefit from that. So with that in mind, they should have an effect that's going to be very powerful. The ones that I've chosen there, Azami, I have Ardeen in there, I have Nekozar, Gadwick, and Marchesa, the Black Rose. What is this? I haven't even read this. Adazal? Well, the Cinderwind, anyhow. And Azarath, the Awakener. Sometimes, because that token has haste, it's actually worth it to throw a legendary creature on the board to get an attack with it. But wizards aren't known for being incredibly powerful as far as stat-wise. So we have to have other things that buff them up. There's a few artifacts that do that in this deck. I don't think I'm going to go through all of those, but rather I want to go through one of the cards that does the most work in this deck. The absolute workhorse of the deck. This has won me more games more often than not. Can you guess what that is? Well, if you watch the previous video, I'm sure you know, but if you don't, it's a Direfleet Ravager. Playing that early when somebody's at 40 life, dropping them to 26, then to 17, a great equalizer. Doesn't matter what people have in their deck or how powerful or how much they've spent on their deck. The fact that I can reduce your life total by a third twice, absolutely powerful. Now, it reduces my life total too, so I mean, I need to be able to deal with that. But usually when I pull that trigger, I'm ready for it, obviously, and can swing in for lethal shortly thereafter. Or if somebody else at the table is getting away from us, then we can always paint a big target on their back by dropping their life total and maybe letting one of the other players take them out. Now, this one, of course, requires that you have the Ascent trigger, the Ascend trigger. Wow, let's get this out of the way here. There we go. You can't read it anyhow. I'll put the card up on screen. So you do need those 10 permanents, but usually even those tokens are going to help you out. So it's pretty easy to get those 10 things on the board. And getting a free turn by following up and getting another free turn is an easy way to take advantage of it. Of course, the best way to do it is with this one turn, one card combo, rather. I won't go into the entire thing, but the prof did a great video on this when it first became available. The Wanderwine Prophet, though, can give you potentially infinite turns and help you close out the game. Something else to keep in mind, though, just like you have that champion trigger there, I have the Mistbound Click, which has champion a fairy. Since there are multiple fairies in this deck, it's usually easy to do that, but the fact that I have a Eminence trigger means I can get 2 fairies, so it's always going to bring in something that you can champion. Now, you remember to stack your triggers correctly, but it also gives you the ability to take over the game, take over their creatures, and more importantly, that last line that's on there, yeah. When the fairy is championed with Mistbound Click, tap all lands target player controls. A handy little advantage that's been added to the deck here recently. Other cards that give that are going to be something like the Hideaway mechanic for the Watcher of Tomorrow. Getting the chance to get 2 cards out of the top 8 usually puts me in a pretty solid position to be able to go through my deck and find answers that I need quickly and efficiently. The fact that that token disappears at the end of the turn then ensures that I put one of those cards in my hand. Luckily, within that first 4, or the second 4, you are going to have to stack those triggers, is going to give me what I need. So keep in mind where you're at in your deck and what might be coming up next. Other cards to help out throughout the deck here are these. I'm not going to go through every single card here, but rather show you some of the cards that I find highly efficient in here, and maybe you know some better ones. If you do, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. Most importantly, to take advantage of all of that, you're going to need some form of a sack outlet. Ashnod's Altar being one of them, that gives you more mana to cast more spells, to cast more wizards, to keep the chain going. Now, I've already presented this one in the previous video, but it's worth mentioning one more time to anybody who's new to the channel and hasn't maybe seen the other one. And well, first of all, the idea of the Vedalken Ether Mage, a tutor for wizards. Well, this is the perfect home for this. Usually what I'm doing is finding one of these two if I need to assemble that infinite combo. Federal Alchemist, Prodigal Sorcerer, Shenanigans Enabled by the Bracers. Of course, this is an easy, cheesy 3-card combo. Relatively easy to assemble again when you can cycle through your deck with as many cards as I have in here. One other thing that this deck takes advantage of, or I feel is important to have in this deck, the ability to cycle cards. And if they're going to be cycling cards, they might as well be something highly effective, such as Capsize, even Mystic Speculation, talking about being able to find the answers that you need in a fast and efficient manner. Well, being able to scry and buy back for just 3 mana, looking at 3 cards, really good. And of course, Disturb Burial, because those wizards are going to be killed quickly when somebody sees a threat. Buying them back with Disturb Burial means you're going to get more value, even more value out of those wizards. Again, take a look at the deck list and see what cards you don't agree belong in here. The final 3 cards, and these might be the ones that stand out to me as maybe not belonging in here. Though I hate them so, they forced me to play Planeswalkers. And these are the 3 that I've chosen to put in this deck. So, obviously, for their static abilities of shutting down other people's card draw, the main reason, of course, that Nicol Bolas is in there is, well, despite the fact that I hate him the most, thanks, Enrique, the fact that I can take any of your Planeswalkers' abilities and be able to use them on my side. That's one of the things that I enjoy about that. But anyhow, that's the deck as it stands, or that's a portion of the deck. The deck list is out there. Let me see what cards you think coming out of the new set should be here. Do you want to talk about it? Tell me what you thought about that ban on Uro is, since that just happened. Not enough to fix standard, and I'm happy to see other people are dissatisfied with standard also. I try not to run down the game of Arena because of just because I'm not enjoying it doesn't mean you're not enjoying it. But it's kind of universal that Wizards is making some decisions, and in Arena and in paper, that a lot of people are finding questionable. I will say smarter people than me are questioning their motives and their cash grabs lately. Yeah, anyhow, I don't want to be that guy. You can go other places for more negativity and stuff. I want to stay positive. I enjoy this deck. How could it be better, though? That's what I'd like you to tell me. If you would, like, comment, and subscribe. And in the meantime, thanks for sharing your afternoon, your day, a couple of minutes with me. Thanks.